Explain like I'm 5. Since F equals ma, is no force applied to a wall when leaning on it. F equals ma is not actually the expression. Net force equals ma. The combination of all forces will result in acceleration. If the combined forces result in 0 of net force, no acceleration occurs, even though there are multiple, and often very strong forces present. The F is net force. When you lean on a wall, you do apply a static force to it, and the wall applies an equal but opposite force back on you. This force is generated by the chemical structure of the materials in the wall that will resist deformation. The harder you push, the harder they resist to actually move the wall. Stump, you have to overpower this force and break the chemical structure holding the material in place. Once you've done that and the object begins to move, F equals ma applies. The force you apply on the wall is a function of your mass, the angle which you lean, and acceleration due to gravity. Assuming it doesn't collapse, the wall exerts a reaction force in almost exactly the same magnitude and opposite direction. 0 net force. You are a mass. You are also in a gravity well. You are under constant acceleration. If you are not, then there is some counterbalancing force pushing with an equal force against your mass under that gravity acceleration. When you lean against that wall, it is providing some of the counteracting force against your gravity-induced acceleration. If a normal human being pushes against a wall, they will slightly raise the temperature of the wall. Similarly, the truck will heat up, and there will be microscopic changes in the stump and the chain. There are changes, just not the changes you're looking for. The energy goes to the push and pull and rotation of the molecules in the things involved. Like a rubber band, but much tighter. If you pull enough, snap. Reaction forces, Newton's third law of motion, keep you and the wall in a state of equilibrium. You are in fact moving the wall when applying the force. You just can't see any deflections, strains, since they are too small to see. You could also consider the wall as a very stiff spring source. I'm a structural engineer. An object at rest tends to stay at rest, unless acted upon by a force. But also, F equals ma. But also, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So you leaning against a wall, but not moving either up, down or left, right or forward, backwards, means the forces acting on you are balanced. You leaning against the wall is a force, but it is cancelled out by the reaction of the wall pushing on you. You ask about the truck and the stump. The energy is being used up trying to overcome the force of the truck being held in the ground. Because there is no work done on the trunk as it isn't moving, the energy is dissipated as heat. So the truck will eventually run out of fuel. Force is applied, but the wall exerts an equal and opposite force, resulting in a net ma of 0. Newton's third law of motion states that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. If the wall didn't apply a force back while leaning on it, it'd collapse under the weight. Birds flying into a plane exert the same force on the plane as the plane exerts on them. You apply a force to the wall, but the wall also applies an equal amount of force to you, cancelling. it all out, which means you and it don't move. So there is a force applied, it's just not enough to beat the rigidity of the wall basically. You are confusing potential force with actual force. If the wall does not move, the amount of actual force is zero and what was placed on the wall is only potential force. When the potential force passes a threshold to cause acceleration, it becomes real force and can be measured. If you are not moving, then the total force is zero. That is not the same as you not applying force. In the case of the wall, you leaning has a force in one direction due to gravity, but the wall is basically pushing you back so you don't move. Kind of. Physics is more complicated than that, but I wouldn't get into it if the person was 5. Widely. You have static and dynamic situations. In dynamic situations, the sum of all force vectors equals mass times acceleration. And in static situations you have the sum of all force vectors equal to 0. I think you illustrated very well why that is 0. It's also helpful to understand that an object doesn't have to be moving per se to experience acceleration. We experience gravitational acceleration just by existing on Earth. For example, what we think of as our weight is actually a combination of our mass and the acceleration of the Earth's gravity. That's why you would weigh less on the moon. Your mass isn't changing, but the gravitational acceleration is less on the moon than it is on Earth. F equals ma is true for each object. When you have two objects interacting, it becomes a system. M1A1 plus M2A2 equals 0 would be the expression for static systems where there is no movement with forces equal and opposite. So accelerations would be opposite signs. Or think of it as direction. This is what the other comments are describing as zero net force. If you're looking for the in F equals ma, just wait until the chain breaks. Then you'll see all kinds of force. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe for more content.